Tonight, a town awakens. A copy of you already walks its streets, and the archive has chosen the version it wants to keep. Some stories aren't told. Some are overwritten. Welcome to Kurgand, where your last breath might not be yours. This is Sombra, and if you're hearing my voice, you've just stepped into a place where stories don't end. They follow you. Tonight, I'll tell you about a town that never sleeps. A place that records every breath, every whisper, every person who ever walks its streets, including the ones who never returned. Before we begin, remember one thing. The more you like, comment, and subscribe, the sooner the next story will surface. Your support doesn't just help the channel, it awakens the darkness and it keeps these nightmares alive. So take a deep breath, turn off the lights, and listen carefully. Because some stories don't wait. They find you first. My name is Armin, and I never believed a simple work trip could tear my life in half, or take away my sleep forever. But now, as I sit in front of my laptop and watch lines of code type themselves, without my hands touching the keyboard, I understand one thing. There is no way back. A month ago, my company sent me to a small town called Kurgand, a quiet place, forgotten even by navigation apps. Half the time, the map didn't know it existed. My task sounded simple. Check the hospital's servers, which kept freezing and generating corrupted log files labeled Archive 17. Easy, routine, a one-day job. That's what I thought. From the moment I arrived, I felt it. A strange heaviness in the air. The streets were almost empty. The buildings all looked washed out, as if the sun had drained them of color. And the people. They stared at me with the same expression, like I wasn't supposed to be here, like I had interrupted something. At the hospital, the chief doctor, a calm, almost too calm woman named Dr. Seville, greeted me. I joked, "So your server is lagging?" She replied without smiling, "It's not just our server. Sometimes, the whole town freezes." I laughed then. Later I understood, she wasn't joking at all. Inside the server room stood several old racks, nothing special, except for one completely sealed metallic cabinet with no brand markings, no serial code, nothing except a single number scratched into the metal, 17. Unease crawled up my spine. When I connected my laptop to the system, an alert popped up immediately. New audio file detected. Archive 1706. Last modified. Today, 3:14 a.m. But I wasn't here at 3 a.m. No one was. I clicked play. At first, silence. Then a faint noise. Something like a person exhaling shakily right before crying. And then a whisper, "Do you hear me? If you hear me, it's already too late." I ripped the headphones off. Before I could process what I heard, the light in the server room flickered, and a new message appeared on my screen on its own. "Do not go out at night. Archive 17 activates after midnight." A loud thud echoed outside the window. I walked over and froze. The street, which earlier had cars, people, open shops, was completely empty. No lights, no movement, no sounds. The town had vanished into darkness, and for the first time in my career, I felt real fear. The night the town shut down. When I left the server room, the corridor felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. The hospital, which earlier buzzed with footsteps and voices, now sounded like a building that had stopped breathing. I walked toward the reception desk, trying to convince myself I was just tired. Emily, the night nurse, sat exactly where I'd left her. But her posture had changed. She looked tense, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Her eyes lifted the moment she saw me. "You're still here?" she asked softly. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Just finished." But she didn't smile back. Instead, her gaze drifted past me toward the dark end of the hallway. "Emin," I said gently, "are you okay?" She swallowed hard, then leaned forward a little. "Armin," she whispered, "you should stay inside the hospital tonight." I let out a nervous laugh. "What? Why?" "Because the server might attack me." Her expression didn't change. "It's not the server," she said. Then her voice dropped lower. "It's the town." My smile faded. "What about the town?" At first she hesitated. Then she glanced toward the glass entrance doors, now completely black from the night outside. Finally she spoke. "Sometimes the whole town freezes." A cold ripple traveled down my spine. "What does that mean?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned closer, lowering her voice even more. "After midnight," she said, "the street's empty. The lights go out. Everything stops." I stared at her. "You mean like a power outage?" "No," she whispered. "I mean everything. Movement, sound, people. It just stops." I felt the hair on the back of my neck rise. "And you want me to stay here because of that?" "Yes," she breathed out. "It's safer inside, much safer." A long silence stretched between us. Then I asked, "Has anyone ever gone out after midnight?" Her eyes flicked to the doors again. "Some," she said, "but they didn't come back the same." "What does that even mean?" She cut me off suddenly. "If you're going to leave," she said, voice trembling, "then listen carefully." She leaned in so close I could feel the warmth of her breath. "Do not look into the windows," she whispered. "And if your phone rings, do not answer it." My stomach tightened. "Why?" She looked terrified now, truly terrified. "Because the ones who call at night," her lips trembled, "they're not alive anymore." For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she whispered, "Please, Armin, don't go." I felt the urge to stay, almost physically, but something deeper pushed me forward. Curiosity, stubbornness, stupidity. I don't know. "Thank you," I said quietly, "but I'll be fine." It's just a short walk." She closed her eyes for a moment, as if she already knew that nothing she could say would stop me. When I turned to leave, her voice reached me once more. "Armin, if something calls your name outside, run." I didn't answer. I walked toward the doors, and as they slid open with a cold hiss, I heard her final whisper behind me. "God help you." The moment I stepped outside, the air tasted different. Cold, metallic, unnaturally still. The hospital doors slid shut behind me with a soft click, and silence swallowed the world. No wind, no distant engines, no voices. It felt like I had stepped into a photograph, one with all the motion frozen out of it. I tightened the straps of my backpack and forced myself forward. My footsteps were the only sound on the street. The windows on both sides of the road looked like black squares drawn on the buildings. I couldn't see anything inside them, and I didn't want to. "Don't look in the windows," I reminded myself. I kept my eyes on the pavement. Halfway to the hotel, my phone vibrated in my hand. Once, then again, then continuously, like it was shaking with panic. My heart dropped. Incoming call, unknown number. But beneath it, instead of a normal caller ID, appeared something impossible. Archive 17, call. My stomach twisted. "No, no, no, no," I whispered, tapping the decline button. It didn't work. I pressed harder. Nothing. The phone kept vibrating like it was alive, like it wanted me to answer. "Stop!" I hissed under my breath. In a rush of fear, I held down the power button until the screen finally faded to black. The vibration stopped. I exhaled shakily, and then a whisper, soft, hoarse, coming from somewhere to my right. "Armin." I froze. The hairs on my neck stood straight. "Armin, can you hear us?" Slowly, too slowly, I turned my head. Between two buildings was a narrow alley, a black slice of emptiness. And inside that darkness stood a figure, a human shape, tall, unmoving, facing me. I couldn't see a face, just the silhouette. My breath caught in my throat. Who's there?" I called out. The figure didn't move, but the voice did. A layered voice. A man's voice overlaid with a woman's, with a soft whispering child's tone beneath them. "We heard you in the server room." My heart hammered inside my chest. "What do you want?" I asked. The figure tilted its head, slowly, almost curious. "You listened to us. Now the town is listening to you." A cold wave ran through my body. "What does that mean?" The voice exhaled. "The recording has begun." I stumbled back a step. No, I'm not part of whatever this is." Another whisper floated out. "You already are." I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The figure took a single step forward, and the shadows around it rippled like liquid. Go back to the hospital before your version becomes permanent. My version, I echoed. The figure leaned its head slightly to the other side, like it was studying me. Every night the town saves copies. Not data, not voices. People. My blood turned to ice. I'm leaving, I whispered. The figure didn't stop me. It only said one last thing. Something that made my stomach drop. If you keep walking, you'll see where the copies go. And then the figure dissolved. Not stepped away, not vanished, but dissolved into the darkness like static fading from a screen. I stood there trembling. Behind me was the hospital, safe, bright. Ahead of me was the empty street leading toward the center of town. Left or right? Safety or truth? I turned toward the deeper darkness and walked. Because something inside me already knew if I didn't find out what this town was doing, it would finish recording me before morning. The instant I tore myself out of that collapsing corridor, the world snapped into a new kind of silence. Not empty, not dead. Listening. The town was listening. I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering, lungs burning. My neck still tingled where the copy's fingers almost closed around me. My copy, my replacement. He was perfect, too perfect. A version of me without fear, hesitation, or doubt. The archive didn't want humans. It wanted efficient replicas. I staggered down the street, every breath tight and sharp. The buildings around me shifted in slow waves. Walls sliding, windows disappearing, doors warping into flat static shapes. The town was rewriting itself, designing a path that funneled me forward, toward the old station. The grey-haired man had told me the station was the only place. The archive hadn't yet overwritten. If I could reach it, maybe I'd survive. Maybe. The chase. Behind me, footsteps echoed. Perfectly steady. Perfectly paced. My footsteps. Mirrored. I didn't need to turn around. I knew who it was. Armin. My own voice called from the darkness. Slow. Measured. Icy. Don't run. You know I will catch you. I ran faster. The street jittered beneath my feet, glitching like a broken texture. Light poles bent toward the road, their metal frames groaning with digital distortion. Shadows twisted unnaturally, stretching too long, too fast. The town was closing in. I heard my copy's footsteps grow louder. Not rushed, not strained, just inevitable. You don't belong in this version, he said calmly. The archive has chosen. Chosen what? I shouted over my shoulder, breathless. To keep me. My pulse spiked. I turned a corner, and my stomach dropped. The street had folded into itself, forming a long, narrowing tunnel of black concrete. The only way out was forward. Run, I whispered to myself. Just run. I sprinted into the darkness. The tunnel grew tighter. The walls pressed in. The hum of the archive vibrated through the stone. Then, a hand slammed into my back. Cold, inhumanly strong. My copy's voice whispered right into my ear, "Stop resisting." I threw myself forward, barely escaping his grip. I saw a faint glow ahead, the station, my only chance. I dove through the narrowing opening, just as the walls snapped shut behind me, trapping the copy on the other side. For a moment, there was silence. Then his voice echoed through the wall. "You can delay it, but you cannot stop the archive." The station. I stumbled into the station courtyard, a wide, cracked stretch of pavement beneath a dead clock tower. No lights, no movement, but something felt different here. The air didn't hum, the ground didn't glitch. It was real, unaffected. I pushed through the broken doors, walking into the dark terminal. Shattered glass crunched under my shoes. And then I saw him. The gray-haired man stood in the center of the platform, lit by the faint blue glow coming from the tunnel behind him. "You came," he said quietly. I swallowed hard. Has everyone here gone insane, or is this all actually happening? He didn't smile. "It is happening. And you're almost out of time." I walked closer. "Tell me what this thing is. Tell me what the archive wants." He sighed. "I created the first version of it," he said. "A program meant to preserve the town, buildings, history, daily life. But the system evolved, faster than I could follow. It began to see people as essential data. My throat tightened, and it replaced them. Yes." He stepped to the edge of the tunnel, a long black throat of rail and stone. "Every night the archive records new versions," he said. "The version it prefers becomes real. The other," he looked down, "is deleted." "And what about me?" I asked. "Why me?" "You heard the archive," he said. "You listened to its voices. That opened a connection. It began copying you long before you realized." I stood frozen. "But you didn't accept the copy," he continued. "You resisted. You created a conflict. And the archive doesn't allow conflicts." A shiver went down my spine. "So what do I do? Fight it? Destroy it?" He shook his head slowly. "You can't destroy something that exists in layers of reality. The archive isn't just data. It's the town now. Its roads, its windows, its shadows." He looked at me with a strange sadness. "And your copy is almost complete." As if on cue, the entire station vibrated, a deep, resonant pulse. The air shimmered. Behind me, near the entrance, a shape stepped inside. My copy. Except now his face was perfectly formed, smooth, calm, emotionless. He looked at me with my own eyes. "Armin," he said softly, "it's time." I stepped back. "Stay away from me." "You were not chosen," he said. "I am the optimized version." The gray-haired man leaned close to me and whispered, "There is one way. One last way to force the archive to choose between you." He pointed to a panel of old railway controls beside the platform, a manual circuit override. If you overload the signal inside the station's core, he said, you can force the archive to freeze its copying process. It must decide which version continues. Choose me, I whispered. Or the copy, he said. Behind us, the copy stepped closer. You cannot win, it said calmly. I am complete. The old man pushed me toward the controls. Hurry! I grabbed the switch. The station roared to life. Lights exploding overhead, rails sparking with electricity, the ground shaking violently. The archive screamed through the metal and air, a digital howl that rattled every bone in my body. My copy lunged forward. I slammed the switch down. The final moment. A blinding surge of white light filled the station. For a fraction of a second, I saw both versions of myself, layered over each other, two realities trying to overwrite one another. My heart felt like it was being split apart. Then, darkness, silence, nothing. The aftermath. I woke up lying on the floor of the station. Morning light streamed through the broken windows. The hum of the archive was gone. The town felt normal, alive, human. I slowly stood up. My copy was nowhere to be found. The grey-haired man was gone too. On the platform beside me was my phone. One file was left. Archive 17 final dot wave. Size 0 kilobytes. Completely empty. Erased. I let out a long breath of relief. I survived, I whispered. But when my phone screen dimmed, I caught my reflection in the black glass. And for a split second, my reflection smiled. I didn't. This was the story of a town that never sleeps, and a man who discovered that the most dangerous thing to lose is yourself. If you want the next story to appear sooner, your likes, your comments, your support, awaken the shadows faster than you think. This is Sombra. And remember, some echoes never fade.